So now you're in buds training, and this, I guess, where it starts to get really interesting. I know you were again talking at the DAC, and as you were talking about this thing, this was like, man, this was like. Now I'm a big like kind of wartime guy. So I mean, as you're kind of talking through your experience, and I'm kind of thinking about the movies that I maybe watch in the past, whatever the case may be, and obviously it seems like a lot of people know about the buds training and how this is like a very difficult process, and obviously as you talked about it, it seemed to kind of match up to, I guess, what I heard previously in terms of it being a difficult process. Can you talk a little bit about that training, having gone through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the SEALs, they haven't had any shortage of press or publicity, so it is kind of commonly known. But I'm not surprised to hear as a former athlete. It's kind of a childhood interest that
Yeah.
everyone has. Everyone plays cops and robbers. They play fake war when you're growing up. Everyone's kind of interested in that. So it's your chance to live out that experience in a lot of ways and see if you can make it to this elite unit. The training is as advertised. It is legit. I'm a believer in what they do and the tests that they put you through.
Yeah.
And it's no joke. It was a very, very humbling experience for me. A combination of having to perform physically every day, having to keep your mind level and even keeled as you went through a lot of stress, and then just being cold, wet, and tired the whole time.
And how long is the training?
It's a real test. So Bud's selection course is about 7 months long. That's the first portion that is commonly depicted in movies where guys are quitting. You have to
Yeah.
ring a bell 3 times if you want to quit to go home. And then after those 7 months, you go to SEAL qualification training, which is an additional 7 months
Okay.
before you're awarded the title of Navy SEAL.
Gotcha.
So at its fastest, it's about a year and a half to
Right.
become a Navy SEAL. The famous and the most basic training that occurs is that BUDS training,
So
which is 3 phases. There's the indoctrination phase where they're not teaching you anything. They barely teach you how to. They teach you how to make a bed, put on a uniform, and how to do what you're asked to do. And that's where a lot of candidates get weeded out. The second phase is diving phase, where they teach you the basics of underwater dive mechanics that we have to implement. And then the third phase is an introduction to some of the land warfare tactics. Um, it gets progressively easier along the way in that they're not applying that intense physical stress on you,
okay.
but it gets harder because you're asked to do actually more technical work. Like you have to do a dive successfully. Some people are really nervous on some of the dive rigs that we dive on, things like that. Have to be able to shoot to a certain standard. Some guys have a hard time.
Oh, and I so how many people did you come in with when you started bush training compared to who kind of made it through?
So our class started with, I think at that time it was like 230
Wow.
a number for most classes. So our class was upwards of 200, and we graduated, I think, 30 original students, meaning the guys that started on day one and never quit, never got hurt, and finished for about 30. We had a bunch of students join us.
Yeah.
So after certain benchmarks, if they get hurt, after a candidate healed, so the number total that graduated, but our organic class was only about 30 folks. So
Okay. And what was the
a lot of
go ahead.
yeah, just a lot of broken dreams and broken bodies along the way.
What would you say was like the most difficult part of that whole, I guess, that initial 7 month training or the buzz training?
Man, I get that. I get asked that question about what's the most difficult aspect, and there's culminations. There's tests that we have to pass along the way. There's an obstacle course that we have to run every week. There's a 2-mile ocean swim for time. There's a 4-mile timed run on the beach, and we have to do that every week. And every week the times get progressively faster and faster. So there's always some measure to performance. There's the famous Hell Week, which
Okay.
is the 4th or 5th week of training, and that's where you have to. It starts on Sunday around Sunday night at some time, and you don't go to bed until Friday. You're outside, cold, wet, and sandy for five days, 5 nights, I think you only get you get a 1 hour nap on Wednesday and a 1 hour nap on Thursday. And that's the only sleep you get, which is incredibly grueling. A lot of people quit during that phase. So for me to point to one specific aspect that was difficult, I can't do it. I think what's hard is that you have to face yourself, and it's a conscious choice that you make. Sometimes you make it hour by hour. Sometimes you make it minute by minute. You make it second by second. You have to decide to keep going, and it's a grind, because the opportunity to quit is always there. There's a bell that they bring everywhere we go on the beach. There's a bell, and all you do is have to just drop the log that you're holding over your head, run out of the cold water that you're shivering in, and just ring that bell 3 times, and it's instantly over. You're done. You can give up on your dreams. So you have to decide. And when you're in pain, when you're sleep deprived, when you're cold, when you're wet, it's hard to decide to keep going. And so that just perpetual self-talk and the grind of it all was really the most challenging aspect.
And it seems like on top of all of that it seems like they're encouraging you, hey, just go ring the bell, it can all be over. It's not like it seems like telling you to kind of push and get through it. It seems like, at least in some instances, they're encouraging you to go ring the bell, and you can,
absolutely,
it can all be over with.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I think, it is a selection course. So, they are shaping the future of America's finest.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure you have that internal drive. So they're not doing it, for entertainment value, even though a lot of funny things happen when guys are cold and tired on the beach. They're doing it because they haven't had experiences in combat. There's a history of great sacrifice that's been made in the SEAL community. And they know that it takes an incredible amount of grit and will and courage and strength, mental and physical strength, and teamwork. So they've got to feel that out. From the SEAL standpoint, if you're a little bit cold and a little bit, wet and a little bit tired, but you're really in a controlled environment, you're on a beach in San Diego, and all it takes is someone standing over you, just kind of talking to you and getting in your head and saying, just quit. If that's what it takes, then yeah, we do want you to quit.
Right.
Because imagine when you're overseas and things are serious. Are you going to quit then? We can't risk that in real life and in combat.
No, for
so
sure.
There's a lot of psychological play. There's some screaming, but there's a lot of just instructors right next to you saying, hey, look, just while you're running, they're running next to you. They're in great shape. They're Navy SEALs, and they just start running next to you, and they say, hey man, there's probably 40 guys that are in front of you. Look at how much better they are than you. What are you doing? Why are you still running? And these are rhetorical questions. You're running, you don't stop running. It's like, man, just quit. Just ring the bell. Stop embarrassing yourself. You're slow. Like, let's be honest. I can see it everyone's, but all that is a test. It doesn't matter. There's 100 guys behind me.
Right.
It just matters if there's 40. And so you've got to just, that's a moment where I had to decide, not going to listen to that instructor. I'm going to power on, keep moving. He's not going to break me in this moment.
And I have to ask you this question because, it seems like kind of just based on the things that you have been through, whether it was, again, playing all the way back to high school, playing sports, lacrosse, football, and then being at Harvard and, the academic rigors to get in Harvard from like the academic standpoint, but then also play lacrosse and then going to the Army and the testing and not the Army, but going to the Marines and the testing you have to do, and then all the way to the Navy SEAL. Like, it seems like today we're kind of going a different way in a lot of ways as far as this whole participation atmosphere where everybody gets a participation trophy. I was at typically go out networking on Wednesdays, and last week I was at the cigar lounge, and older gentleman was telling me how they're trying to take this like the scoring test scores and A, B, C, all that type of stuff out of schools and kind of make this more, everybody to get along to go along to get along and everybody's okay and we're all the same. I guess, how do you feel about that? I guess that type of environment, because again, you've been through where, hey man, we were graded in terms of, hey, what was winning or what was successful and what was, not successful in a lot of ways of, for most of your life. And kind of going to this place where, regardless of what you score or if you can cut it or not, you're still awarded or I guess rewarded with some type of a prize. I guess it seems like it's different, and I guess from my perspective, it seems like overall, as far as it doesn't serve a greater good. So I guess I'd like to get your thoughts on something like that.
So I do see it as well, and it is a difficult it's difficult to unpack that question. I think people expect me to say something like, yeah, there's no participation, but in certain contexts, I think a different response is appropriate.
Okay.
And so I would say that from a SEAL standpoint, war is not fair.
Yeah.
The world is not fair. But when you're at Bud's training, it's a fair playing field.